Today, I had the pleasure of interviewing Carley Summers on the Shop Talk with Radiate Prince podcast. And Carley is an interior designer who's based here in Greenville, but she has designed homes all over the world. And believe it or not, Carley says that she is the epitome of fake it till you make it. She started out by taking pictures of herself, interior designing or decorating her small 400 square foot apartment when she first got married. And now she's built this wonderful business. She has published a book, Sacred Spaces, featuring her own photography of homes all over the world. I hope you enjoy this episode.
Grew up in Greenville. My parents still live in the same house that my mom was pregnant and with me and brought me home into that house. I actually now live a street over from them, so it's very serendipitous. But precious childhood, classic ADHD middle child. I remember my parents took me to a Christian therapist, and they were like, she loves being the center of attention. Like, how do we help this? And they were like, and the therapist was like, this is the way God made her, and one day God will allow it to flourish in the way that it's supposed to. And nowadays I'm like way too tired to be the center of attention, nor do I care. But it's neat how even back then, I was a little girl who rearranged my room, Barbie dream houses, made fairy houses. I was just always creating little spaces for myself and little prayer corners and things like that. So, and I was always incredibly artistic. Went through college. I really struggled at ECU. I was a fine art major at ECU. Some of the people listening might know, but I'm in recovery. I have 14 years sober this past September from drug and alcohol addiction, and I just was one of those people that had way too much fun in college. Ended up dropping out of ECU. I'm a college dropout. That means you can do it. You can have a successful business, and ended up going to treatment in Delray Beach, Florida for drug and alcohol addiction, and spent 60 days there. And it was actually interesting. While I was in rehab, I had a room to myself, a clean bathroom, and they would take you to the grocery store every week and give you $75 and teach you how to manage money and have discipline and all that. But it was the first time in about 5 years that I had a clean and safe space to live, where no one wanted anything from me. It was sacred. And I remember being in that place, and I only had to stay legally for 28 days in rehab based on my court sentence. And I remember asking my insurance, hey, I'm just extremely troubled. Will you keep me a little longer in rehab? And insurance ended up covering it for me. And I ended up staying about 58 days just because it had been a long time since I'd felt safe. Yeah. And I took that feeling with me, and it's always a feeling I've had. And, I moved 13 times during my addiction, whether I was kicked out or couldn't pay the rent, things like that. So when people would ask me about home, it would be the sense of security, where do you live, or things like that. And it just didn't feel safe. And after treatment, I moved to Port-au-Prince, Haiti. My dad took me there, picked me up from rehab, dropped me off in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and said, I'll see you in a month. And
so what were you doing in there?
I was a missionary.
Okay.
And the organization had no idea that I was coming from rehab, but they took a chance on me, and it's where God totally transformed my life.
Okay.
It's where I picked up a camera for the first time because my career started with photography. Okay. And after I was in Haiti, I went back to school. It took me 7 years to graduate from college in total. I spent 2.5 years at a small Christian university called Palm Beach Atlantic University. Finished my fine art degree there, started working for a church, worked in administration in the church, literally counting how many people came to church and entering into data. I mean, I hated my job.
That doesn't sound like a job for you.
No, it wasn't. And even my bosses would be like, we love you here, but you are not very good at your job. And I was like, well, at least I'm fun. And I can tell you where to put that candle and where to set up all the food. I could host. And so, but I think during that time, it really taught me discipline, a 9-to-5, structure, organization, things like that, which is so helpful in my career now. But at the same time, I had gotten married, and I started reading a book called The Power of a Praying Wife. And it said, if you allow your husband to be the head of the home, which, can be hard, it allows you to be the heart. And I really took that into consideration for the first time. It'll make me tear up. Had a place that was just sacred and safe and unshakable and unmovable. And I started to create my own home and decorate. And I went to Goodwill and thrift stores. I mean, I had like, you're newly married. I lived in a 400 square foot apartment. And I started posting it on social media. And this is 13 years ago or 12 years ago. And it started to pick up and to grow.
What were you posting? Like, what did those pictures look like?
So it was just pictures of my home or me sitting in my home and like what I did to decorate it. And then people started following me. And then larger interior decorating accounts started following me. And I remember I was still working at the church at that time. And I was really praying, like, God, send me a sign that like I'm supposed to switch careers. And one of my favorite interior designers started following me on Instagram. She doesn't do as much anymore. Her name's Justina Blakeney. She's just highly creative. And I felt like that was a sign. And then my pastor, who was my boss, sat me down. He said, I don't really necessarily see you flourishing in your job right now. Like, let's figure out what your passions and your giftings are. And so he did a T chart with me, and one was your passions, one is your giftings. And passions are things that, like, if you go to heaven, you'll be sad you didn't do, which, in heaven, you're not going to worry about it. But, and then giftings are things that you're just naturally good at. And we wrote those things down, and he drew different career fields for me, and it was being an interior designer. And he said, we really don't hire here at the church for this. and so on that Sunday, I put in my 3 weeks. And then after that, I got hired to go to Morocco, Africa to start styling and photographing in a different country. So
how did that happen?
On Instagram. I really just made a website, said I did something for a living. People believed me. And then I just went for it.
So just a little fake it till you make it?
I am the literal poster child of fake it till you make it. And it's just been an incredible journey since then. I did a lot of interior photography in the beginning. And I would go and photograph all around the world for other interior designers. And I was like, man, I really want to do what they're doing because I love the whole process. And so about 8 years ago, that's when I started to transition out of photography and fully kind of bootstrap interior design. I remember I would be on a job site with a contractor and he would be like, yeah, we're going to put like an LVL beam right here. And I'd be like, okay, sure. Let me get back to you on that. And I would go and Google it in my car. There was no ChatGPT back then that could help me figure everything out. And I would just Google it and figure it out and be like, okay. And so, I've never worked under another interior designer. I'm self-taught. And now...
So no formal training?
No formal training in interior design other than, me rearranging my bedroom in my own house.
I started out at ECU as an interior design major for 1 year and I ended up changing it because I started my business. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it definitely, the formal training kind of... It's not what you would expect.
No, and I will say that even in the interior design, classes and things like that, some of the things that they're learning are incredibly practical for the field, like AutoCAD, 3D renderings. So your girl, I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I can read blueprints, but I can't do the AutoCAD and I can't do the 3D renderings, but I have an incredible team who literally I wouldn't be here, without them and all the people that have worked for me, in the past, 8 to 7 years. So my girls have that formal training and one of them doesn't. She didn't go to college and she taught herself on YouTube how to do AutoCAD and SketchUp. I mean, I'm so blessed to have the girls that I work with. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, they have that formal training. But me, I guess I call myself like lead creative director.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So it's crazy. We are where we are now. We have a 2,000 square foot showroom with offices upstairs where we have
Where's it at?
It is on Dickinson Avenue, 905 Dickinson Avenue. Nice. We are an appointment-only showroom at this time. But we have all of our custom upholstery, which is made here in Eastern North Carolina by another person that was on the podcast before, Bob Phillips. The shell company is River and Board, and then my collection is called the Max Collection, which is another reason why I'm an interior designer is my grandfather named Max was a mid-century modern furniture designer in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And we worked together with Bob and River and Board. And we brought back all of my grandfather's old sketches that he had done during that time and created an entire collection from those sketches and named them after my family members.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's neat. Cool. It's a blessing. It's kind of hard to believe that I'm here now, but here we are.
I see you have a necklace on that says Max too.
Yes, that's my son's name, and he's named after my grandfather. So there's a lot. There's the Max collection. There's Max Summers, my son, and then Max Stout, who was my grandfather.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's very, very cool just to continue that legacy of what he did in creating. And for a long time, my desk at my office was his original drafting table where he designed furniture. So
That
it's
is so cool.
It's serendipitous. Yeah.
Yeah. So, wow. So I'm trying to figure out where do we even like pick up from. So you were doing photography and then you made the leap from photography to interior design and things just seem to kind of have taken off from there.
Yeah.
What would you say was like your first project you did like as an interior designer?
So in full transparency, I started doing interior styling in the very beginning because I didn't know how to necessarily do the construction side of it. So I started with styling. And when we moved here to Greenville 10 years ago, most of my clients were virtual. Greenville is, as you know, it's changing. It's growing. People are opening their eyes to things that are different than what they're normally seeing or what, their moms or their grandmas did in their houses.
Yeah.
Also Pinterest is a blessing and a curse. But I was providing an interior design and styling perspective that wasn't necessarily present here in Greenville yet. So a lot of my clients were in New York or LA or London or all over, and we would design for them virtually. And so my business started picking up here in Greenville when I got my first office on Evans, which was near the old Coastal Fog, beside Truly Yours, all that. That's where our first offices were. And then we had a couple clients I actually spoke at my church, Open Door, at a women's conference, and my pastor, Pastor Lauren, heard what I did for a living and asked me to help her with her new build. Yeah. And they were one of the first people locally to really help us grow in doing an entire new build where we chose every spec, everything.
Wow.
And, what was really cool is to watch them I actually started going to their church because I watched how they treated people and they stewarded their finances and how much integrity they had. And they're still like some of my favorite clients I've ever had. But really it started, and then that was a trickle effect. Someone else in the neighborhood saw that we were doing new builds and working with contractors. And, for so long it had been virtual. And then once we created a stationary spot in Eastern North Carolina where clients could come in and we could do their full design presentations, it just made more sense for us to start taking on local. I also knew that I wanted to have a kid. And so traveling and doing virtual design like all over the country and sometimes the world was exhausting. Yeah. And so I knew I wanted to focus on marketing in the local environment than rather trying to get more virtual clients. So I think having that office on Evans really helped us like establish that.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So it definitely sounds kind of like grassroots, I guess, in a way, like with especially like local market side, because it sounds like like the social media presence, like when people were seeing you, like just like that just kind of exploded, but that the local market was kind of different.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about it, I'm from Greenville. I had a former reputation. I used to call myself like the Lindsay Lohan of Greenville. Nothing wrong with that. Look at Lindsay Lohan; she's living her best life. But I was in the paper for, arrests and, people knew I went to rehab and things like that. So I had a former reputation in Greenville, as, a major party girl and one that got in trouble, but had a good heart. I think people knew that, just made some wrong choices. And so when I moved here from West Palm Beach, Florida, I was nervous to come back. Yeah. I was like, oh, are people going to think I failed? But, I moved back to be closer to family. And my little brother has a chromosomal abnormality. So we came back, just if anything ever did happen in my family, we would be the guardians of him. But when we did move back to Greenville, I had a social media presence. Yeah. And I usually don't share that unless someone's asking me about it, just because social media, it's not where my treasure and my heart is. It's a wonderful exposure, but you have to be okay if it goes away one day. Right. But the social media exposure helps so much. And people were like curious, like, oh, Carley's back in Greenville. What's she doing? Did she bring her business here? So it is kind of grassroots too, because I got to come back and renew the things that the enemy had destroyed before. Yeah. Like feeling a lack of sacredness in homes and now coming back and like giving that to families, and not only to families, but to myself. So it's been a complete redemption story for sure.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And you keep mentioning the word sacred, and I know that you had a book that came out pretty recently. When did it come out?
Yeah, so actually it came out in 2023, I believe.
Years.
Yeah, so my husband and I flew all around the world and photographed in 6 different countries. And none of the homes are designed by me other than my own. But I went around and photographed and told people and voice memoed and asked them interview questions about their home and how they got to where they are and why their home is sacred to them. Just because of my own history, I wanted to hear about what other people had walked through and how they got to this sense of home and place.
Yeah.
And it was an incredible journey. I was pregnant the entire time.
Oh my gosh.
And
traveling all over the world.
And I was sick as a dog. I was in London and I'm like on the flight and I am throwing up nonstop.
I've been there too, girl. Throwing up on a plane while you're pregnant.
It's crazy. And of course the London flight attendants think I'm like a hungover American. And I'm like, can I have another throw up bag? And they're like, yes, here. And I'm like, I'm pregnant. And they're like, oh, honey. And then they started taking care of me. But I threw up every day for 8 months, all the way up until I gave birth.
So it wasn't even just first trimester.
No,
you were
I had that syndrome where it was, I guess it's a hormone in your placenta where you just throw up every single day. I would be in the office with my employees or I'd be on a job site in like even a different state. I'd be like, excuse me. And I'd be with a contractor and I'd have to like go in the backyard. Yeah, it was crazy.
You're a trooper.
Yeah. It was a lot, but I wouldn't take it back, obviously, because like my son is just like one of the best things that's ever happened to me. But it was just crazy just to, it was funny because I struggle in 2 different learning disabilities. One is reading and writing comprehension, and then one is hearing comprehension. So it's just funny that I wrote a book and had to listen to people's stories, then dictate it, and then write it. And it's just crazy. I think some of my like elementary school teachers would be like, "She did what?" Because they could barely get me to sit down at my desk, let alone write a paper. So, and then my husband was almost the ghostwriter. He helped me with editing and all of that. It wouldn't have been possible without him. He is an incredible writer. So. It wouldn't be possible without him. But yeah, the book has done well, and it's sold at Coastal Fog. Signed copies there if you ever want to buy something on Amazon. So yeah, it's great.
So does your husband work in the business too, or are you guys separate?
So he did. At one point, 4 years ago, I was at like a breaking point where I just needed someone to help me with logistics. And like, people would be like, how much money do you make? Or what's your net? Your gross? And I'd be like, I don't know. Because
there's money in the bank account.
Yeah, it is. And it kept growing, which I was like, cool. But in full transparency, I am a creative. And so that type of stuff overwhelms me. If I look at a spreadsheet with too many numbers, I pass it to someone else. Like it's hard for me. So I had to learn like to ask for help in areas that I wasn't good at. And so my husband came along 4 years ago and came in and brought in systems, invoicing systems, client systems, things like that. And it's not that we weren't doing those things before. He just put it in like a better way.
Like
so
organized
that,
it.
Yeah, he gave me QuickBooks.
Awesome.
Yes, which has changed my life. And then he also helps on installs. He still does that to this day. But last November, we decided it was best for him not to work within the business anymore. I'm a strong personality. He's a strong personality, and he has so many passions and giftings. He went and got his GC, his general contracting license. Cool. And then he has now started his own handyman business called Level Up.
Okay.
And he still helps us when we need it.
Right.
And then he like helps us with curtain installs, furniture deliveries, things like that, just because I can trust him.
So you still get to work together some.
Yeah, we still get to work together, but it's not me. Yeah. So it's so much better for our marriage and so much healthier, and he's so much happier too doing his own thing. So it's a blessing. We both are entrepreneurs, so we both get to be with our son like really as much as possible. So it's awesome. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. My husband works in the business, and I am it's an interesting dynamic. I'm like, I own everything, and I'm technically like if a decision has to be made and we disagree, like technically it would be me that would have to decide. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen sometimes. It is an interesting dynamic, but we love it. It works.
Y'all are a miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
And you actually seem quite more soft-spoken and gentle than me. So it probably works better in your marriage than it does in mine. That's something that the Lord is working on me on, to be a quiet and gentle spirit in a lot of areas of my life and allow someone to lead me and to be led, which is because I'm a natural born leader. I always have been. And, it looks like you are as well. But maybe you're nicer than me. Yeah. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
For me, like I am a little more soft-spoken, but I can get spicy sometimes. I remember like my first trimester of my pregnancies, I'm extremely spicy. And usually it's a giveaway that I'm pregnant before I tell people that I'm pregnant. I've learned that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, Spicy Taylor's back. And I'm like, yeah, she'll be back for about 6 more weeks. And then Dell's back in.
I wish my spice only lasted 6 weeks.
I don't know.
I'm sure my husband would say the same, but I think it makes me who I am.
It does, yeah.
But I think the Lord is softening me some. So
yeah, and to be honest too, like my husband is the most go with the flow, chill person you've ever met in your life. So maybe it's that. Maybe I'm a little more like headstrong, and I'm, like my daughter's 3 years old. Her personality's starting to come out. She looks like me, and I think she acts like me too, for better or for worse. And, she's marching around the house. She refuses to wear pants, has to be a dress. Just little things like that, parts of her personality that if you tried to put pants on her, I think she'd scream. Like, Yeah. So I think that if that sums me up, but as an adult version of that, I'll wear pants. But I might, if I have a decision that I'm going to make at work, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I think too, as a female in the industry, just owning your own business, and especially in my industry, I'm surrounded by men. Mm-hmm. Tradesmen are men, contractors are men. There's rarely any female contractors. If they are, they have to be super tough for people to take them seriously.
Right.
And, I have to get my point across. I also have to know what I'm doing. So, I have had to have really hard and sassy conversations with contractors. But what's ended up happening is I've stuck to my ground in a lot of these situations. And now I work with some of these contractors that I've been working with the past 5 to 6 years now. Right. And we work so seamlessly because they understand me.
You got over the hurdle.
I did. I got over the hurdle. I mean, I think I even had one tell me that I was like a pain in their ass one time. So, and I might have been, but to me, my clients' details and their vision is what's most important, and I have to fight for it. Yeah. And then stewardship is a huge part of our business as well. So like telling our clients where to spend money, where not to spend money, because we do want to make sure that when they walk into the home that they feel really good about where they spent their money. But
right.
But with those contractors, we have created like really incredible relationships to where I can call them and I have to make a change, and they're not frustrated by me. They understand my vision, which has just been a huge blessing. But as a female and a business owner, you do have to stand your ground, but also trying to do it with a gentle spirit, with all that. So it's definitely something that I think I'm getting better at, which is a relief. But
it's a balance.
It is a balance.
So, I know we talked a little bit about your dad, but I'm just curious, having like a father who was entrepreneurial, what was that like to kind of build your own business and have him as like a resource?
He is a huge resource to me. Not financially, obviously, but they cut me off when I was like 20 years old, obviously, because, I spend my money on like drugs and alcohol. But if I ever have an issue at work, or if I have an issue with a client and I have to have a hard conversation, he is the first person I call. I ask him how to have the conversation, how to do it in a godly way, because that's something that's really important to him. And, he ran an incredibly multi-million-dollar successful business for over almost 30 years. And he sold it at the peak of its success. Yeah. And, the fact that I'm able to have him in my back pocket really is incredible, to be able to talk to him through those decisions, and him give me incredible perspective. And a lot of times we disagree, obviously because we're in different industries, but a lot of times he gives me incredible insight. And also I watched him, throughout my childhood, I had an incredible example of work ethic. So it's just funny that like I probably was like one of the laziest people ever during my addiction. And then, after I set those things aside and started to follow my passion and my giftings, is when the entrepreneurial spirit came out. I mean, I remember I saved and saved and saved to buy my first $2,000 camera. My parents didn't buy it for me, and my parents really wanted to instill in me to work really hard for things. So it's incredible to have him. I'll call call my mom though and tell them I'm having an issue with work. She's like, who do I need to show up? Who do I need to slap? No, I'm kidding. Mama Bear shows up, and I'm kidding. She's not going to do that. But it's just, I actually have, and my mom is incredibly entrepreneurial as well. She started a school for learning disabled children here in Eastern North Carolina called the Greenville Learning Center because my brother has that chromosomal abnormality and like he was in like 3rd grade and couldn't read. Now my brother has written 2 books and one is published on Amazon.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
we got a family of authors over here.
It's incredible. And then my sister has started her own business. She's incredibly successful. So it's but my parents taught me as a little girl that I hope I'm saying it right, but in scripture it talks about you have 5 talents. So it's there's this parable where it talks about where one person was given like 1 talent, one was given, and I'm probably saying the word wrong, but 2 talents, but the person that was given 5 talents went and multiplied their produce and their financials, where the person with 1 buried it and nothing came of it. But my parents have always told us that we're incredibly gifted and talented children and that we have to give our best. So I really wouldn't be here without both my parents like pushing me on to be all that I can be as an entrepreneur. And even when I was little, I was creative and weird and in a good way, you know, I would have like how weird I was back in the day. I would have flourished in middle school now. Like it's very cool to be weird now. Back then it wasn't, I'm like painting fairy murals on like my elementary school walls and wearing like lime green overalls and like LL Bean, like, yellow clogs and stuff and like my Hello Kitty pen protector, you know, and pens and gel pens and all that. But my mom, when I was little, I was like, Mom, I'm just really different, a little bit weird. And she was like, I know it feels like that one day, but I promise like one day it will be one of the reasons why you're successful. So I really wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of your business, I feel like we've gotten a little far down the road and we haven't really talked about exactly what you do now.
Yeah.
So I learned, like as someone who like did a little bit of interior design in college, like a lot of people don't really understand what interior design is because they watch HGTV and they think that they understand. Like, So tell us, what do you do? What does it mean to be an interior designer?
Yeah, so we are a full interior design service. So there's going to be interior decorators, which are people who are mainly bringing in upholstery, curtains, pillows, rugs, and decorations.
Touches.
Yes, and which we are as well. But some people would say that I can technically not be an interior designer because I didn't go to school for it. But there's so many people, some of the most successful people in my field did not go to school for interior design. And so we are a full interior design firm, meaning we work in the very beginning, whether it's a full remodel or a new build. We work with your architect and your contractor. We look at the blueprints. We make adjustments. We create where every light is going to go, where every sconce will be, where every can light will live. We pick out every grout, every tile, every plumbing fixture, every piece of stone that goes on your cabinets. We design your cabinet profile. We design your cabinet layout. Really, you're coming to us with a Pinterest board, most people, and then we push it to an extreme. Because a lot of people see things on Pinterest and they haven't been able to explore anything outside of their own creativity, which is why they bring us in. Yeah. And so what we do is we take that blueprint, we do a 3D rendering in it, in a program called SketchUp. And it's not just going to be basic walls with nothing in it to get a 3D tour. We, during the process of doing that SketchUp, every wallpaper that we source, every light fixture that we source, every rug that we source, every pillow, every piece of furniture, every book on the table, every flower pot on the shelf is put into this 3D rendering. So when we have their design presentation, we also have their exterior built up so they can see, this is what my house is going to look like when I walk up to it, when I drive up to it. And then we take them through a virtual 3D tour of their whole house with everything designed within it. And so they get to see what their house is going to be before it's even built. So, and then they're able in that design consultation or design presentation to say, hey, I love that wallpaper. Can we source it with like a different shade of green? I don't like that shade of green. And perfectly enough, we thought you might say that, so here's the alternative. So we do a good, better, best. So we always give 3 options for our clients, and not only in the case of variety, but in the case of stewardship. So good, better, best. And the best isn't always the most expensive. Sometimes it's that middle priced thing. light fixture or rug or things like that. And so we do a full presentation with every bed, every pillow, every nightstand, every faucet, every tile, and we have it all laid out on a table. So they get to see their entire design beforehand. And even before we get to that point, we have a discovery call. We get reached out to weekly, 3 times a week for people in new projects. A lot of them are long distance. We take on a lot of long distance new build projects where we have homes in Connecticut and Florida and Illinois and Missouri. I mean, it's all over the country. We prefer local. But, you
take it where you can get.
Absolutely. And I mean, one of my favorite projects is a Connecticut home that was 200 years old.
Wow.
And incredible clients, incredible taste, one of my favorite homes we've ever done. So if I had said no, because it wasn't.
You would have missed that.
Yeah. And so we do a discovery call when people reach out. We explain our services. We have documents that explain our services, our hourly rate, what you'll be provided for with us, all those documents, because if I share it to them all on the phone, they're overwhelmed by all the information. So I say, I'm going to follow up with documents that explain everything I just said. Then they can schedule us for a 1-hour consultation, either virtually or we'll do a walkthrough, or they'll come to our office with their blueprints. We'll talk through the entire plan. And then what we do is we give them a proposal. We'll say, okay, because we're a retainer-based company, so we charge by the hour. And so what we'll say is it's going to take us 250 hours to complete your entire project. That's from looking at your blueprint to placing the last pillow on the bed right before you move in. And we have 2 installs coming in within the same week, in 2 weeks. And I mean, it is a rush to the finish line of trying to get everything ready. But and so we work with the contractor. We're providing all the specs and the elevations, meaning the measurements for all the cabinets, the plumbing. We pick everything out. And then we create a book for the contractor and folders for the client. So if they're ever like, where is this item going? It's organized in a way. Yeah, and it's just crazy that I have systems like this in my business with how scatterbrained squirrel I am. I mean, the girls at the office are like, squirrel, because I'm like, do we need to do this? But being controlled in that way helps me so much with my ADHD and Google Calendar. I remember my first assistant, her name was Darby, and my son was in her wedding. Like, we're still so incredibly close. She moved on to do something else in her life. But she created Google Calendar for me 7 years ago. And I was like, wow. This changed my life. But yeah, we're highly organized. I mean, I thought I was going to be late to this podcast because I was on a job site because we're custom making a headboard for our client that is designed around sconces that have already been put in. And so we brought the stencil for the bed to go in, placed it in the bedroom, made adjustment to it, took it back to the upholsterer, and now she's making the bed for the install.
Wow.
So it's an incredibly detailed process. We are a luxury interior design firm. Yeah. Interior design is a luxury and it is expensive. Yeah. But we also take on decorating jobs as well, depending on the budget that people have. We are using high-end fabrics. And I mean, my business didn't start at this place, but I am not above. I went to Loose Goose right before I came in here because I had 30 minutes to kill. And I will find a $20 nightstand or a $20 side table and put it at my client's house and be like, this is $20. Yeah. So it's just the balance of high-end items, and then finding stewardship and lower cost items. Yeah. So hopefully that explains what we do. But we're in the beginning completely, there's nothing on the ground, pouring the foundation to when they walk in and it's like HGTV and they get a little teary and they're like, I can't believe this is my house. And we do have moments like that with our clients. I wish that they were recorded because it's one of the best feelings in the entire world to create spaces for people. It'll make me cry. Yeah. It's so good. I'm so blessed to do what I do and have the team I have. I wouldn't be where I am without the people that have been with me from the very beginning. So,
well, it's clear how passionate you are.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I'm also exhausted.
Because you asked me before we started recording, you were like, how do you do all of the things? How do you do,
I have pretty heavy boundaries.
Yeah.
I also lead a Bible study every Wednesday night for young college-aged women that go to ECU, or some are in seniors in high school, and then some have already graduated. I still have a girl that's with me. She's in medical school. She's 25 or 24, and she started with me when she was a freshman. She's been coming for 5 years. So I've been leading a college-aged Bible study for 13 years, and I do that every Wednesday night. We take a break during the summer. So that's something that's a huge priority to me. Even if I retired from interior design or stopped doing what I'm doing, I definitely feel like my ministry is to pour into young women and to help them flourish, to know their identity in Christ. Cause I didn't know it back then. And I also didn't know how to like be a Christian and like have fun in college while balancing being a believer. No one taught me that. And so that's really important to me. So I have to make time for that. So like on Wednesday mornings, that's my time to prepare. My team knows I need from, 8:30 in the morning till about 10:30 in the morning, where they know don't text me. Because I'm preparing and getting ready for Bible study that night. But it's hard. I struggle with mom guilt, because my son is in daycare. Yeah. And he goes from Monday through Thursday, and then he's not there on Fridays. If we, I do try to not work Fridays. Yeah. I'm still like answering emails from my phone, but we call it maxi days, where it's just like days where we get to be with him, take him on adventures, things like that. But it's hard. It's hard for me to figure out how to schedule it all. And to figure out how to go to sleep at night without like my wheels turning, struggling with insomnia, things like that. I don't know. I struggle with the balance and trying to figure it all out. But even today, as I was driving around, things just somehow fall into place, and I just feel really grateful. And those are the moments where I feel like, God, thank you for like getting me through this day, and everything works out, and putting boundaries up and saying no to people and telling my clients, you may text me between 9 and 5. Don't text me on the weekends or I'm not going to respond. Things like that. So putting up boundaries and making sure that I have like healthy time. I mean, how do you do it? It's hard.
It is hard. And I in some ways, I think like we as women get asked this question more.
Oh, for sure.
But, and I asked it, but like I asked it because I think most women you hold a little bit of a different role in the house than your husband does. Like you talked about like leading the home versus being the heart of the home. The holidays are coming up, and being the heart of the home during the holidays is a lot. You hold a lot of responsibility, and like husbands do so much. Like I'm not, negating like what my husband does, but both of us being in both of us being in the same business, if someone has to stay late at night, Nick's staying late at night at the office to wrap up whatever that project was, which is happening a lot lately. And then I'm at home with the kids playing mom. And then like, as soon as they go to bed, I'm catching up on whatever work I didn't get to do because I had to leave early to go take someone to dance class or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, you find like you try to like find the parts that you enjoy of the season, but you also have to admit like, it's like if there's two sets of train tracks that are parallel. One is the train. It's like, this is great. All these, like, my children are young and they're hilarious, and I'm going to do all these things in my career that I love. And then simultaneously, like, it's hard, and like they coexist.
It is hard. And, I think trying to figure out that balance for me of like how to, because, there's that struggle of like some days, like I think being a stay-at-home mom is probably one of the hardest jobs like 100%. On the planet. The mental capacity that it takes to stimulate children and to be there all day and hear mommy, 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 mommy over 100 times. Like I tell my sister-in-law and people that I love that are close to me that, are stay-at-home moms. I'm like, man, I could literally never do your job. Cause like I get to check out, which then I feel guilty for checking out.
Yep.
And then am I missing moments? But I do have to remember, obviously, my first ministry is my family, loving on my husband first, caring for my child. But also, God created a passion inside of me, not only for me to have fun with, but to shine his light. And so if I'm not doing what he created me to do, then I would be doing myself and him and the people around me a disservice. So, I think it's something that I have to figure out as a balance, but I know that being in this position is a blessing. But also not listening to, the enemy and it saying like, you're failing. And there are times that I fail and I have to say I'm sorry to my kid and things like that. So it's just really the balance. But it is funny, no one ever asks my husband or the men around me like, how do you do it all?
How do you do it all?
Yeah. And it's just funny as women, the reason why we get asked is because we are fortresses. We are able to push through mentally and get things done. That is why we are the ones that give birth.
When you were talking earlier about your dad and watching him build this business and how it was such an example for you, you get to play that same role for your son.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. Yeah. And like, getting to be so creative and, like even like hearing the stories of like how your parents encouraged you from a young age, saying that like, it feels weird now, but like one day it's going to like culminate into this career. And I would wager that you're a better example and a stronger mom, better mom, however you want to word it, for your son when you're getting to live out those passions.
Yeah,
And
that makes me feel good.
You know?
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That was really sweet. I think it's hard to see it that way. I even like with jobs, like we get asked to do jobs like in California and New York and all these places, and I know what they will require, and so I'll say no. Even though they're like the multi-million-dollar homes. And I just have to say no because I know it will require me to leave and to go to job site visits and things like that. So I am very prayerfully over jobs that I choose.
Yeah.
I get gut reactions and be like, that just doesn't feel right. That's going to take me away from my son, which is why we really do want to cultivate more, local clients. And we've had incredible local clients, and when I say local, we mean to like Beaufort, North Carolina, Raleigh. We have a Beaufort home that we're doing right now.
Yeah.
It's incredible. We've done Farmville, Wilson, things like that. Like we love that. Like if it's about 2 hours away, we're still calling it local.
Radius.
Yeah, the radius, Eastern North Carolina into that Piedmont area. But, I have to learn to say no so that I can say yes to other things, which, sounds kind of goofy, but it's true.
All right. I got a question that's going to feel random, but I wanted to make sure I asked you. Who is like your favorite interior designer that maybe whenever you finally got to meet them, you felt like a little starstruck that you had made to this point in your career and got to meet them, work with them, whatever that looks like?
Well, I have not met my favorite interior designer.
Who is it?
Her name is Bunny Williams.
Okay.
It's like my mother's favorite interior designer. I mean, I remember I used to be like, Mom, your style's dated, like blue and white chinoiserie. And now like there's blue and white chinoiserie like all over my house. So I would say Bunny Williams and Kathy Kincaid. They are senior designers, not only just in their expertise, but in their age. They're in their 60s and 70s. And their ways of, like, if I met them, I think I would like.
You'd be like.
I would be starstruck, and I can say this to you, but I was at High Point Market this week, and I had people come up to me and be like, "Can I have a picture with you?" And I'm like, "Me?" They're like, "We follow you. We have your book. We source your furniture," and I was just like, "Little old me," because like my team laughs and like, boy, if they knew you behind the scenes, you're a goofball, and but Instagram presents like a different air and look about what we do. But, it's crazy that, like, that moment that I would feel that way with my, like, favorite interior designers, like, I would geek out. Like, that's how some people feel about me, and it's the weirdest feeling ever because I know myself, and John's like, how do they want to take a picture with you? You know what I mean? So it's just precious, like, but it's that little girl in me that wanted to feel recognized and important. God gives me little glimpses of it. It's very different than what I thought it was going to be, but it's sweet how he, like, gives me, like, those little desires of my heart that I felt as a little girl of like wanting to be, somebody and be interesting and have my own business. And I think some people think that there's something wrong with that to want those things. But obviously nowadays it's changed so much. I don't like crave that type of thing, but when God gives it to me, I see him like winking at me, be like, I see you, girl. I see you, little girl, so it's precious.
What is one small thing that makes a surprisingly big difference in your business? One small thing
that makes a surprisingly big difference in my business. Oh, man. I would probably say, like, our systems. The detail measurements, a measuring tape. Like, it is small but mighty.
Yeah.
You measure 3 times, you cut it once. In interior design, it is the details that matter. So I would say that's the smallest thing, but it makes our projects turn out spectacular. It's that minuscule little measurement.
Yeah. And if you could go back in time and give younger Carley one piece of advice, what would it be?
That's so sweet. That's gonna make me cry. I'm such a crier. One piece of advice. What was it again?
One piece of advice that you would, if you go back in time and give younger Carley one piece of advice, what would you say?
Don't be ashamed of who God made you to be. It's all going to work out one day. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. I think everyone could hear that every once in a while.
Yeah.
And besides your business, what's one passion or hobby that recharges your batteries?
thrifting and antiquing for myself.
Nice.
When I don't have a list of things to do for other people. And it's so funny. Courtney, who's our senior designer at our office, I was out thrifting and antiquing with her one day, and people were calling me nonstop. I mean, my phone is blowing up, contractors, trades, emails. And I looked at my phone and I said, I don't want to be bothered. I'm antiquing. And I put my phone back in my pocket, and she had it custom monogrammed on a sweatshirt and gave it to me for my birthday. And it says, don't bother me. I'm antiquing. And like, I posted it on Instagram. People were like, I need this sweatshirt. I'm like, sorry, it's just for me.
It's just for me.
But I mean, it is something for me to creatively recharge. It can feel daunting when you're doing it for a client, but when I just get to do it for myself, it is so fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if someone was coming to visit Greenville for the first time, where would you take them?
My showroom. I would take them to my showroom. I don't think people in Greenville take it up as much as they should, because we are appointment only. We will eventually have walk-ins.
Yeah.
Or like where you can just like walk in. But our showroom is always ever changing, and pieces are selling and moving and all of that. Cool. But our showroom, we really wanted to create something that felt like Europe and magical when you walked in, like a Parisian English. I don't know. It's amazing. So when people get to walk to the showroom, it's definitely different. So I would take them to my showroom.
So can you buy the stuff that's in there?
You can.
Okay.
Almost every single thing is for sale.
Okay, cool.
So, and then it's nice too, because I think a lot of people are buying furniture online. But what's nice about us is you can come and sit on the pieces of furniture before you buy them.
Yeah.
And they're actually at the same price point as the things that they're buying online, or even less. And they're made, Edgecombe employs over 200 families.
Yeah.
It's locally built, incredible quality. I even had my local upholsterer reupholster one of my pieces for me, because I was like, okay, I want to change it up. And he took all the fabric off and took the furniture apart, and he goes, this is literally the best well-made piece of furniture I've ever upholstered. And it came out of 10 minutes away at, the River and Board Edgecombe factory.
Wow.
So I just would, I think people in Greenville, could take advantage of like really shopping local and sitting on the pieces, because it really is a magical place to work.
Yeah. Awesome. And how can people find you online or on social media?
So it's a funny story. My Instagram I made like 14, years ago. And if you've ever heard or seen that video, you might be too young for it, but it was like a YouTube video, and it was like two toddlers, and it was like, Charlie bit my finger.
Yeah.
Well, my friends would go, Carley. And so I made my Instagram Carley page. So I get like emails from like Elle Decor, and it's like, Dear Carley. And I'm like, Jesus, help me. I'm so embarrassed. But I can't go back and change my Instagram name. It's been there for 14 years. I might do it one day, like Carley P. Summers or something. Yeah. Because Carley Summers is already taken, and so is Carley Page. So I just release it. But Carley, it's Carlay, embarrassingly enough. And then Page on Instagram. And then hello at Carley Summers, or carleysummers.com is our website. You can see our portfolio there. You can contact us there. But yeah, we share all of the behind the scenes of all of our projects on social media. So you get to see step by step of like how the whole house was built. So, and all the details and the finishes. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Carley, for coming on. This was so much fun.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Shop Talk with Radiate Prints. We'll see you next week.